There is one level that controls all levels when trading. You'll see this level on all of my charts. In this video, I'll share my top tips for using this level for all your trading decisions. Now, what is this level? Well, quite simply, it's the weekly open. That is the weekly opening price of whatever you're trading. Now, on my charts, you'll see this as a white or orange line. And then these arrows above, they tell me whether or not the price is above or below the currently weekly open. This level, more than any other level, has a consistent impact on price action. Let me say that again because it's really important. This level, more than any other level, has a consistent impact on price action. If you want to execute better trades, get out of tunnel vision, or have better entries and exits, then on every trade you execute, you should have a general idea where price is at in relation to the weekly open. At any given time, the weekly open is an attracting magnet for price or a repelling magnet for price. I'll share in a membership video the exact patterns to reveal whether or not price is currently being repelled or attracted. But right now, I'll share some tips on using this important level in your trading. All right, so let's jump into the chart. We're looking at the S&P E-mini futures on the 15-minute time frame. We are looking at historical data, obviously. The market is open. It's Sunday. It's roughly around 1900, 7 p.m. So the market's been open for about 2 hours here where I'm at. Now, the first general tip and just general thing you should have in mind when you're using the weekly open is if price is below the weekly open, of course, it's going to be attracted towards it. That the market's going to try to recapture the weekly open. If price is above the weekly open, then you have to realize that the magnet of the weekly open is attracting it to come back and retest it. And let's just look at this past week here. Look at obviously we have the line right here. This is the weekly open. And just see how price is continuously attracted to this weekly open. It's continuously attracted to it. When it gets above it, it's attracted to come back to it. When it gets, it had a rollover period here early in the week on Monday. It went back and retested the weekly open. And then here it did a little bit of an overshoot. And then it eventually, right around Wednesday, early in the morning, it lost the weekly open and it sold off. But something really interesting happened here that we'll talk about in the membership video, but also I just want to highlight here on YouTube. When you have an important level like the weekly open, you know that it does two things. It acts as a magnet, but it also repels price. But it also is a target for what the market is consistently reaching for. If it's below it, the market's trying to go for it. If it's above it, the market wants to retest it unless there's a certain pattern that's telling you that it's not going to be retested. So for instance, in this area right here, using just the 15-minute chart, if we had the 4-chart setup, you would see this even more stronger. That's why I say the 4-chart setup gives you a superpower in trading. But right here, this zone right here, you'll see this pattern play out time and time again. This exact pattern, when you interpret it through the Rexdog trade system and the indicators that we use here, this exact pattern, when price is below the weekly open, you will see this exact pattern repeat week after week. On the upside, you'll see the reverse pattern play out. But this is like a textbook example of giving you edge early into the trade that's telling you that, hey, the target for this is actually the weekly open. It's trying to go for the weekly open. The story of the chart, as it sits here, this is a textbook example of why, and I think we streamed this trade, why we went heavy on a trade like this. We went heavy on a trade like this because we have a pretty good idea on where the market wants to go, the weekly level. And then we've got various confirmations here in our trade system that tells us, hey, it's on. It's worth taking a risk here. It's worth, and in this zone here, this zone specifically, you can put your stops tight. And if you look at the room here, the room of that trade, as you get that first signal, you've got roughly, a 37.25 move on the ES. And this works, like I said, this works in any market. If we go over to Bitcoin real quick here, and let's see what Bitcoin's doing. I think we're going to have a close here, aren't we? If we look at Bitcoin here, we have the same type of scenario that's playing out. Actually, it's already open for the week, obviously. But we can see here, if we go here and we look at the previous week, it was obvious. Oh, look at this test here. This is almost like a perfect trade if you were around to execute this trade. So here, it lost the weekly open. It did a test here. But what also happened there? Anybody that's trading the RexDog system, you should be saying, look, bias and momentum shifted. I should be short. And then, as it's retesting the weekly open here again, look at that. You got another opportunity to get in that trade. Momentum and bias was still short. So you still knew what side of the trade to be on. And then it had a major breakdown, obviously, here. And a major breakdown candles here. Two kind of 3 15-minute candles in a row where it just really ripped down. But if you didn't get in the trade here, which was the first signal, was the first confirmation signal, you had two opportunities to get in the trade here. And then here, if you're trading our system and you're not taking that trade, I don't know what you're doing. That trade, every signal on every chart, we can look at the 5 minute, the 1 minute, we can look at the 4 chart setup. Every signal was saying that you need to short this. It really couldn't be more clear. Now let's go to the NQ. I want to go to the NQ and finish up this video. We're going to make this a relatively short video because we got to get on the member videos. We got to really get into the patterns. Let's look at the reverse side, okay? The reverse side, and this is where Friday, if you were on the stream, you know, you saw me fading some trades and I shared, I said, look, I'd have a much better P&L if I just got out of tunnel vision and I just trade the system. The system's telling us it's momentum long, it's bias long. We had no business fading. And what the trap that I fell back into is because I like to fade. I like to be, like I said, Mr. Fader Man. I like to fade the market. Well, you know what? Friday was a day that, once again, when the weekly open was captured right here, and then not only the weekly open, look at this here. It's so obvious. And obviously, I mean, it was obvious in real time. And I was saying this in the stream and still doing a couple fade trades here and there. But when momentum and bias held here, momentum and bias held, and it continued to hold. And then when you have a structure of the market building above the weekly level, and then it takes off from there. Look, we're chart traders. We trade the chart. So when the chart gives us signals like this, and I'm saying this to remind myself as well, because once again, I fell into a bad habit of being super fader man. Going forward, I'm going to focus on not being super fader man because basically super fader man hurts my P&L a little bit. So this is a prime example though of when structure builds and then the weekly, this pattern that you're seeing here is another textbook pattern of the weekly open repelling price. And there's a couple key things on here that we'll discuss that while what I kind of hate about going back in charts, and I'll just end the video with this, is that it's so easy in hindsight to see all this stuff and say, oh yeah, I would have took that trade. The true edge in trading and the true secret in trading is being able to recognize these patterns in real time and then trading these patterns in real time. That's the true edge. Because anybody can go back in a chart and say, oh, it's so obvious. But being able to recognize these patterns in real time and trade with conviction is really what it's about. And that's what we focus on here. We focus on trading price action in real time, executing highly effective trades. Now, if you're new here, you'll want to subscribe and like the video. Down below, you'll see a link to Discord. That's where the best conversations happen, so you want to join Discord. If you are interested in getting started with the RexDog trade system, you'll see links below for the website. It gives you a full overview on that. Join Discord or send me an email and ask me how to get started. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.